Good morning and welcome to Sunday Morning with Dee. There are several organizations that are making a major impact in and around our neighborhoods to improve the quality of life for individuals as well as the city through the state. And my guest this morning are representatives of one such organization. Good morning.
Good morning,
to my
Dee.
left is Presley.
Good
How
morning.
are you?
Good morning. Doing great. Thank
Presley
you for having me.
Gillespie, and to my far left is George Garchar.
Hi, Dee.
Welcome. You gentlemen represent the Youngstown Neighborhood Development Corporation. That's a big mouthful.
Yes.
But you're young kids on the block. You haven't been around for a little while. How did you get started?
Well, first of all, it's YNDC for short, so that'll make it a little bit easier.
That's easier. You know, we do like acronyms.
Absolutely, absolutely. Our organization was actually formally launched in late 2009, and it was really a culmination of developing a partnership with the City of Youngstown and the Raymond John Ween Foundation, and really it was based on the premise of really beginning to execute on the vision of the nationally recognized Youngstown 2010 plan. You know, looking at our city and our neighborhoods as, you know, smaller but stronger neighborhoods, and how do we really revitalize our city in a very holistic and comprehensive way that builds on the strengths of our assets but understands that, you know, we have a shrinking population and it may continue to shrink for some years to come. So looking at how do we really use innovative, state-of-the-art approaches to really current realities in terms of neighborhood revitalization, in terms of rebuilding our neighborhoods into healthier, vibrant neighborhoods that looks at all of the different elements of what it takes to really create and build a healthy neighborhood. And YNDC was formed really to really execute on that idea, on that vision, utilizing, again, very innovative national best practice models, utilizing, you know, resources that have heretofore had never been tapped into both locally, regionally, and nationally, and really do things in a very, very different way, and ultimately create and build a higher level of confidence, engagement, community interaction, and you know, social cohesion within our neighborhoods.
That was partly of the term that you're using, integration.
Yes.
All that. George, how did you get involved? I know your background is in urban studies and
Right.
Community mobilization.
Right. Well, when the Ween Foundation began to talk about creating a citywide CDC, they reached out to people who had some background in that, and I was thankfully one of those people. There was a group of us that really just, even before obviously the organization was formally incorporated, we just had some conversations about what needed to be done, the kind of work that needed to be done, you know, it went from there.
Not only do you use the resources that are available through organizations and committees and others, you are really making a request, a strong request for the individuals themselves to reinvest back into their own neighborhoods and to take responsibility for maintenance and upkeep. And that gets to my next question. We've had several, you know, infill housing and other housing programs, but the issue is not always getting a buyer. It's sustaining them while they're in that property and providing for them to make sure that they can keep the home once it's been provided.
Sure. And I would say, you know, everything starts with increasing the level of confidence in our neighborhoods. You know, you mentioned, you know, getting neighbors and residents to invest. We see that as the pinnacle of our work and really how we will measure success. If people in the neighborhoods are reinvesting their own time, energy, and resources both in residential properties and commercial properties, long term, that's what we see as success. And that investment unlocks other investments. So if you are living next door to someone who's outside painting their home or, you know, putting in new windows, that's going to encourage you to do the same.
If nothing else, just maintaining the lawn, the grass,
Exactly,
keeping
exactly.
the hedges cut, picking up the paper.
It also
something
makes
very simple.
Exactly. And it also causes you to think differently about the future of your neighborhood. And that's what we're all about. Yes, in terms of home ownership, we believe home ownership is still a very vital component to revitalizing our neighborhoods. In low to moderate income neighborhoods, home ownership is the key way of building and accumulating assets. So we think they're still very, very important. And all of the good work that's been done with infill housing and other types of low and moderate income housing has been great. What we want to do now is we want to build upon that and create, again, looking at a holistic approach to neighborhoods. So if you have infill housing, you need to make sure that you don't have a tremendous amount of blight in the neighborhood, overgrown lots, abandoned properties, et cetera. So we look at an approach that you got to look at more than housing. You have to look at all of the different, you have to look at the entire neighborhood as a whole.
And Dee, what I would add, speaking specifically to the issue about people being educated about their responsibilities. As Presley said, just in terms of the resident involvement, getting involved, they learn some of those skills. Mm-hmm. And then also in terms of the home ownership program, a required component of to become a homeowner through the YNDC programs, the new residents are required prior to becoming a homeowner to have home buyer training. My employer, Catholic Charities, is one of several organizations that provide housing counseling and homeownership training that YNDC uses and partners with. So people go into the homeownership situation with their eyes open and knowing what is required to be successful.
Well, Presley is the executive director and you are the board chair for this term.
Correct.
How many neighborhoods have you been involved with so far?
Well, our approach is to really look at a strategically focused approach on neighborhoods. We started out with 3 neighborhoods, the Idora neighborhood, Lincoln Park, and Crandall Park North. We've sort of identified the Idora neighborhood as a pilot model of intense concentrated investment and what you can achieve when you do that. And we think we've been very successful at doing that. And so now we're moving a little deeper into Lincoln Park, Crandall Park North, but we're also even expanding that a little bit wider as well. We're balancing our targeted and strategic approach with now launching several citywide programming opportunities. So because we do want to make sure that we can be a very nimble organization and that very few, if any, neighborhoods are ignored.
Get some flexibility.
Yes.
There's an application process for the Success program, and that's coming up, if I understand it. What is it that an individual residing in any neighborhood would have to do in order to say, hey, this is something I would like to see take place? Or do you yourself approach neighborhood block watches or other church organizations so that you've got that collective body of individuals in the neighborhood?
Well, we try to maintain a very high level of neighborhood engagement, neighborhood collaboration. We try to make sure that we know who the neighborhood association leaders are and that they're fully abreast of the programs that we offer. So that's a big part of it, and we consistently encourage them to apply. You mentioned the Success program, which is actually run by the Raymond John Ween Foundation, right, which we also collaborate with and help put together some of the applications. But we also are starting our own Lots of Green 2.0 citywide programs that also provide small micro grants for vacant land reuse projects. We launched our first phase of that last year. We selected 5 groups across the city, one in every neighborhood, and we're going to provide technical assistance and financial resources to do a host of various types of vacant land reuse projects, from community gardens to recreation to youth training and development.
We're going to touch on that when we come back from break, but for now, so we can end on a point, the application for the Success program is March 15th deadline, and you can do that either online or you can contact the Raymond John Ween Foundation, and that's on the screen. And when we come back, we're going to go into detail because I'm interested in knowing more about some of those programs. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sunday Morning with Dee and my guests, George and Preston. Let's talk about some of your initiatives, okay? You've got strategic acquisition, which is also part of the 2010. You've got work days. Let's just go through and kind of cover a little bit of each one. I know we can't do as much in depth as I would like to.
Sure. Well, as we've said, you know, our approach is very comprehensive and holistic. So we believe it's kind of like having a good diet. You've got to have a healthy dose of all of the different ingredients in your daily diet to really have a healthy lifestyle. So we approach that and we approach our work in that manner. So for one, we've got our flagship Lots of Green program, which is really designed to restore vacant property, vacant land back to productive use. So you look at 22,000 vacant lots across the city. We're attacking those challenges and turning them into opportunities by creating green space, community gardens, urban agriculture.
Or even mini parks.
Many pocket parks, indeed.
Oh, so that's what that term means,
pocket parks, yeah.
Does that come up with you, George?
Sure. I mean, it ranges from literally having a lot next to a homeowner and having them take ownership of that all the way through some of the bigger initiatives that Presley mentioned.
Exactly. And that's really become actually a national model. We have individuals and flagship organizations and blue chip universities that are very interested in that model. We also, the element that we add to that is heavy community engagement because the community is involved in almost all of that work. But our strategic acquisition rehabilitation program is designed to acquire vacant and abandoned properties, rehab those properties back to really very high level energy efficient standards, and then get those properties back into the hands of homeowners. With that program, we provide up to a $10,000 grant for individuals that want to buy those properties. So that's a significant financial assistance. And we also provide, through our partners, Catholic Charities being one of them, financial homeownership training. So we're providing the training, we're making sure that they have the financial resources, and we're giving them a home that's been renovated from top to bottom in a very high level energy efficient standard.
George is the board chair. Who are some of the other partners besides Catholic Charities that you are able to get engaged, because you can't do this alone?
Right. In terms of the home ownership counseling, it's Compass, formerly Family Services, Youngstown Metropolitan Housing Authority, all our HUD certified housing counseling agencies, and so we're all available to help with that.
I find it interesting to tie into the 2010, because the point that you were making is that if you have a home here that you're investing $20,000-$30,000+ in, and you got one next to you that's boarded up or vacant, you got another one next to you on your right, across the street, and there you sit in the middle of a boarded up neighborhood, and you're being asked to improve upon your property.
Exactly.
There's an oxymoron in there somewhere, isn't it?
That's right. And indeed, and to supplement our strategic acquisition rehab, we have our Model Blocks program, which is also